Welcome to this Savant educational video on preparing and applying a firmware update for the Savant Power Storage 20 or PS20. Step 1. Checking firmware version. First, let's check if a firmware update is necessary. Open the SPS app and select the device you want to check. Tap on the menu in the upper right corner and choose Device Information. Here we can find the currently installed versions of various firmwares. The ones we'll want to make note of are EMS firmware, which is listed as firmware at the top, PV firmware, inverter firmware, ARM firmware, and finally the BCMS firmware. Remember, the BCMS is in the battery cabinet and is only installed once for the active battery cabinet in a shared battery setup. Compare the versions installed on your system with the most up-to-date versions listed on screen. Step 2. Requirements. Before updating the firmware, ensure the following. 1. The PS20 has been powered up as shown in the initial power up and testing video. 2. The PS20 is configured per your system design using the Savant Power Storage app. 3. The battery is charged to at least 30%. 4. You have grid power and a reliable internet connection. Step 3. Submitting a support ticket. Firmware updates for the PS20 are manually loaded from the cloud while the installer is on site. Start by submitting a support ticket at least one business day before you plan to update the firmware. To submit a support ticket, log into the Savant community at community.savant.com. Click on the Cases tile. Fill out the support form with the necessary information. Ensure the subject includes PS20 firmware update. In the description box, indicate the date and approximate time you'll be on site and ready to update the firmware. Indicate if you have a shared battery setup, where one battery is connected to 2 or more Savant power inverters. Include the serial number for each PS20 unit, found below the QR code that was scanned at setup. Step 4. Updating firmware. During the firmware update, connected loads will power down several times. It's recommended to bypass or power off the load. Savant support will load each of the 5 firmware files to your PS20. This process can take 5 to 10 minutes per file, depending on internet speed and reliability. You may be asked to confirm the status lights on the front of the PS20 and disconnect communication between the inverters. Wait for instructions from the support agent before making any wiring changes. After the updates are completed, return to the SPS app and verify that all firmware matches the most recent versions. For more information and additional videos on the Savant Power System, visit Savant University. Thanks for watching.